In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, I'd like to show you how you can make the preview that you watch as you edit your video project more accurately reflect the final project. The issue we have sometimes is because of limitations on our video card or a processor is that when we've applied a lot of keyframes or a lot of effects to some portions of our project, that when we preview it and look at it on the screen, it will stutter, it will stop, it will seem jerky, and we're wondering, is that how bad the final project will be? We're going to show you some workarounds, some adjustments you can make so that it more closely resembles the final project when you render it. Let me give you an example. I have 3 different clips on this particular project. The first one is shot. It's a close-up, and because it's a handheld shot, it's a little bit jerky, so I want to stabilize it. But when I do, I'm going to run into an issue. Let's try that. I'm going to click on the clip, click on the edit button above the timeline, go to Video Stabilizer. Now when I click on that, I have an option to use Enhanced Stabilizer. I'll click on that and activate it. But notice when I click on the information button, this screen pops up. It tells me that this requires more computing power. So they have 2 recommendations. One is I switch to non-real-time preview, or the other option is render a preview of the range. Let's look at both of those options. If I don't do anything and simply play it as it's been tweaked, it's more stable, but you notice the playback, it's a little on and off. It seems like it starts and jerks a little bit, and I hope, gee, my final product isn't going to be like that, is it? It won't be, but I'd like the preview to more accurately reflect the final project. I can do that in one of 2 ways. The first of all, if I just click here anywhere and right-click, I can click on Preview Mode. I'm in real time right now. Let's see what happens when I go to non-real time. I get this message box. It tells me that if I'm going to use non-real time, all the audio will be muted while editing, and the speed will be slowed down. I'm going to click on OK and leave it there. And we use the last part of this clip where you see the actual cars moving through the underpass. And you see that it is going to be a little more stable, but you notice the speed has changed. So that's the compensation for using that option. So we're going to stop that. I'll right click and I'll go back to my real-time preview. The other option I have is I can render the clip. In order to render it, we, in the new interface, use the X key. I remapped mine to the R key for render. That makes more sense to me. So I just put my playhead where I want. I'm going to do R. Now it will try to render the entire clip. If I don't want the whole clip, I can move the in and out markers. If I can find the in one here, it should be more visible. That's a fault I have here. And I can move the in and out to actually span more than one clip. And then I can render it. The way you render it is simply by clicking on the second icon next to the camera to the lower right of the preview screen. I'll click on that, and it will render the area between the in and out. It will take some computing time to do that, but when it's done, it will much more accurately reflect the actual output you have when your project is fully produced and rendered. Now it's done, and when I play this segment here, you notice it's a lot smoother. It's actual speed. Nothing is wrong, and I transitioned into the next clip. So I can take this and render as many different places in my project as I want to. I'm going to hit the R key again and say, no, let's just render this segment here. And then I click the button again, and it will do the same it did before. You can render as many pieces of your project as you want to by using this particular method. And when it's green, it tells you it's rendered. Now, one thing about rendering that you need to know is if you edit anything that's under the green line in your timeline on any track, it's going to change that. Let's just take this graphic title drop it in here, and you notice what it did. This is not rendered because something changed. So if you change anything, that will have to be re-rendered if you want to see it in that preview mode. Now there's another option you have that will automatically render your entire project. It may slow down some other operations, but it's an option. So let's show you what that one is. Let me get out of my title screen here. And I go into my preview, I right click, I'll go to preview quality. Now I'm on high preview resolution. Let me try ultra high density preview resolution. I turn that on and notice all the rendering lines are gone. What it will now do in the background, and it will slow my computer down some, is it will attempt to render from the playhead to the end of the project. And then when it's done with that, it will start at the beginning of the project and render everything up to the playhead. So it is trying to render everything you've done on the timeline. You notice that box that appears to the lower right of the preview screen. It takes a segment at a time and it attempts to render it. It will go one chunk at a time until it's finished the whole project. Now if I take something and I modify it, let's take another different title, and I'll drop it down here. You notice now that is not rendered. And what it will attempt to do is, in time, it will go back to that segment that I've edited and apply the rendering to it, and you'll see the green line again. So it will begin at the beginning. You see it's replaced that area and rendered it a second time. It will keep doing that all throughout your project. But what it will do is it will give you a visual in your preview screen that is much closer to the actual output when you finally finish your project. So that's one way in which you can improve the look and feel of that. There's a consequence. It slows your computing power down as you're editing. If that's an important value for you, it's one of the other options you have. And this will apply to all your projects. So to stop it from happening here or in a different project, I have to go back to my preview quality and go back to high resolution. And in that way, it will stop it from doing that on every single project as I edit. So that's an on or off for your entire system.